'87. That's good because this is then the 40th anniversary release party. Strange. Well, Piero Heliczer was a dear friend of Angus McLeese. They shared an apartment which was upstairs over the place where Marion Zazila had been living and where I moved in with Jack originally. And then when Marion's rent ran out, Piero and his wife Kate got a little hovel, a slum apartment at 56 Ludlow Street, and presently asked if I would be interested in grabbing the apartment that was open next door, which I was, and so we were neighbors for a couple of years. And what happened there then was that we did all kinds of stuff. This was a pretty amazing place, as it turned out, because in the long run, I mean, I guess it's a real sort of like the way that the place got sort of etched into some kind of broader historical pattern was that Piero would go to Europe and he'd sublet. He sublet to Jack Gelber's brother David, who Jack was a playwright in those days, and Dave Gelber befriended some creepy rock and roll promoters who from Long Island City, and they were looking for somebody to promote a record they had cut with one of the people that they had snagged into a contract with them. And so we were all invited, and they asked David if he knew any musicians. And I was living next door with John Cale, and so we had kind of long hair for those days. It was like really just like about 2 inches long. And but this was just when the Beatles came out, so we were supposed to be long-haired musicians. So we went to this party and met these guys, and then they took us over to Long Island City, where we met the musician they had recorded the song with that they wanted to promote. Well, that was Lou Reed, and so then we all went out on the road and did promotion for this like song, "Do the Ostrich." But do the ostrich, you know, and for John and me, I mean, we just thought it was really hysterical that we were actually rock and roll musicians, you know. It just seemed like wacky, unbelievable, and but then I moved out to be a part of Cinema Rock Movie Studios with Jack and Mario Montez, and actually John hung around and Lou, who had been living with his mother out on Long Island, he moved in, and they started Velvet Underground there in that apartment. So it was a kind of a wild place up there. And so Piero, of course, and Kate had the apartment next door, and we used to get together and jam, you know, like just all kinds of stuff, just any idea, get things going, and then get a bunch of instruments. Piero had a saxophone, and so forth, and Angus would drum and play on anything, the bathtub or you know, whatever. And so in this way, there were some recordings generated that were sort of like what you now call like free jazz avant la lettre. I mean, sort of like what we would now call free improv, you know, but we were doing that just like. And that's one of the next things I'd like to release. But when Piero asked me if I would make a soundtrack for Joan of Arc, I actually had wanted to sit down at the pedal organ of my friend John DeCaro and record there, and I did, and recorded this tape, which I gave to Piero to use as a soundtrack, and he was crazy about it and enjoyed it. And I was always very much attracted to the whole thing. I liked it very much. And so one of the first things that I told Jeff Hunt, who runs this label, of course, it was, you know, it's something I'd like to release the soundtrack not the soundtrack, the unsoundtrack to this film for Joan of Arc, which is just an improvisation of this really creepy ancient figure pumped with her feet and kind of sighs and poofs and doesn't really play. But it's a wonderful recording, and it's like an hour long. So I'm just very, very happy that tonight we're not releasing it. We're going to release it, Jeff says, in October, but actually it's here. So this is like a pre-release release party. And I'm so happy that we get to actually show the film because, I mean, which, as you heard, nobody could really find. I mean, because the last time I saw Piero live, well, I saw him, except his picture, right? I was in the early to mid-'80s. I was walking up 6th Avenue with my son and my girlfriend, and around 14th Street, and we were walking typically past a bunch of derelicts on the side of the street there that were camped out next to a bank. And one of these dirty people jumped up and came over and said, "Hi, Tommy!" And my son and my girlfriend looked at me like, wait, like, what's going on? Because I said, Piero! Like, great to see you. How are you doing? Well, obviously not that great. But he had been living on the street there on 6th Avenue, 8th Avenue or 6th Avenue, I forget right now exactly where it was, but it didn't augur well for him. And I gather that he was killed in a road accident, actually, in southern France, a couple of years later. So, anyway, let's take a look at this short film. Joan of Arc.